have POTS and I'm nervous, so I'm really sweaty. Oh, bad combo. All right. So when my neurologist walks into the exam room, he'll usually start by asking me a question. And naturally, I will answer with a question. How are you? He'll ask. So I'm a journalist. I'm used to being the one asking the questions. And I'm a big fan of the hard-hitting kind, too. So now what I ask in response to my doctor's pleasantry may strike some of you as brash. Considering I spent 10 years speaking very professionally on television, anchoring nightly news, it may even startle some of you. If you're easily offended, well, then I guess I'm lucky you're not my doctor. So when he asks, how are you? I respond with, how close are we to a cure, because I have shit to do. Shockingly, this doctor insists on scheduling me every 6 months. So either he really likes my sense of humor or my health sucks. Every time that appointment pops up on my calendar again, I'm disappointed that I've lost another half a year to these symptoms. If we break that down into the days, that means I've lost moments, memories, and opportunities. The day my niece came to visit and I couldn't get out of bed to open Christmas presents with her. The night my husband explored Zermatt, Switzerland alone on our honeymoon because I had to lie down. The day I announced I was leaving news because my body couldn't do it anymore. I had wanted to be a journalist since I was about 2 years old. We were living in Los Angeles at the time. There was a big earthquake and I was terrified. I remember my mom turning on the news and I watched the anchors show pictures and videos and talk us through what was happening. I was instantly calm as I listened. It was in that moment I knew I have to be a reporter because reporters know when earthquakes are coming and I can tell everyone to get out of town and I'll never have to go through this again. I got my big break in elementary school when I was elected historian. I officially entered the news business at 15 after I convinced the editor of our local paper to let me write. I didn't even have my license yet, so my mom had to drive me to my first scene. It was a big story, guys. It was riveting. An HOA dispute over roof tiles. And I was tasked with taking photos of the scene. I headed to college with a clear major in mind, obviously. My career in broadcast journalism would take me across the country. Now, despite my childhood fear of natural disasters, I spent many a storm outside reporting. By 25, I was a main evening anchor and a newsroom manager at a station in South Carolina. I helped launch the team's first investigative unit. I built a reputation, both within my industry and amongst viewers, as an honest, tough, and trustworthy journalist. My boss called me dependable and hardworking. It's why it was especially shocking when I began struggling to get up in the morning, getting sick constantly, and forgetting words. My first hurricane as a full-time anchor came right around the time my symptoms started. Now this kind of coverage, to give you some context, it's like the Super Bowl of news. The team moves into the station, we'd set up our air mattresses in the sales offices, and our shifts would be 12 on, 12 off. So I'd be at that anchor desk in wall-to-wall coverage, potentially for weeks. The day before the storm hit, and before even alerting my parents, I called my boss from an ambulance, and through tears, promised I'd be back at work as soon as they took out my gallbladder. I hadn't been able to stop throwing up and I could barely move my limbs, but the doctors said it was a simple surgery and I could be back on air by the next night if I was so determined. Do you know me? I didn't know it then, but that hurricane was the best thing that ever could have happened to me at the time. During the governor's afternoon press conference, he announced mandatory evacuations of all coastal hospitals, transfer critical patients, discharge those who could wait. I was sent away with a pile of Zofran, antibiotics, and an order to come back after the storm to have my organ removed. I was at the station an hour later. Hurricane Florence hit our city with force. 12 hours on, 12 hours off. I'd retreat to the bathroom to puke during reporter live shots, then pop back up on air. I survived on chicken broth and bread. I talked our terrified community through a storm, just like I had always planned I would. The viewers never would have known I was so sick. As the storm passed, so did my symptoms. Over the next 2 years, though, they'd ebb and flow, but ultimately worsen. My general practitioner at the time told me I should quit my job. This was just stress, and I clearly couldn't handle it. I wasn't afraid of challenging those in power for the good of society, so why were my hands shaking and dripping in sweat? I'd spent 3 days in the field covering a devastating tornado, only to sleep for a few hours in my car here and there. So why had it become so difficult to fall asleep in my own bed at night? I ran after a suspect with my camera in high heels when the bank next to our station was robbed. So why had it become so exhausting just to walk from the anchor desk to the green screen 10 feet away? I had built a life I loved with a fiance, 2 dogs, lots of friends, and a career I had wanted since I was 2. I had everything I dreamed of. So why did 11 doctors tell me my symptoms were anxiety? I was left investigating my own mysterious illness as I felt more of my brain and function slip away by the day. Finally, a cardiologist at Vanderbilt University Medical Center suspected postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS. Prior to my tilt table test, I Googled the condition. I knew my heart rate had to go up at least 30 beats per minute upon getting upright to qualify for this diagnosis. Now at this point, I would have been grateful for a brain tumor. No, I didn't want to be sick, but I already was. I just needed to know why. As the nurse who was recording my vitals and symptoms while I was strapped onto the table lowered me back down, I asked, "Do I have POTS?" She said I'd have to wait for the doctor to tell me. So I asked, "Well, did my heart rate go up more than 30 beats per minute?" And she said, "Oh yeah." And I said, "Nailed it." But that's not all. The same day, I was diagnosed with a genetic connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. What can I say? I've always been an overachiever. I didn't just get sick, I got chronically ill. So there's no cure or FDA-approved treatment for either condition. I never knew I had EDS, but looking back, strange signs of it had existed my whole life. Headaches as young as 5, back pain by middle school, a shattered ankle that didn't quite make sense, and I excelled at gymnastics, cheerleading, and dancing because my flexibility turned out to be hypermobility. Many patients with my type of EDS will someday develop POTS. It's why my doctor knew to look for it. It was never my gallbladder, and I shudder to think how my condition would have worsened if a hurricane hadn't prevented that surgery. Now, at first, I was understanding. I was even empathetic to all those doctors who had missed this. They couldn't possibly know about every rare condition out there. Rare? My doctor said POTS is not rare. It's just rarely diagnosed. Doctors haven't been trained on it. Now, at the time, it was estimated more than 3 million Americans had POTS. It's more common than Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis, but you've heard about those. It is as debilitating as congestive heart failure or end-stage kidney failure, but no one believes people who look like me could feel that bad. I know, my makeup is fantastic. When I first Googled POTS, about 3 legitimate medical articles came up. The rest were about potted plants and marijuana. There was barely any information on this, but why? How had this happened? He said it's because it predominantly impacts women, and historically women haven't been taken as seriously when complaining of symptoms. 85% of POTS patients are given a psychiatric diagnosis before ever receiving the right one. Initially, I didn't want anyone but my immediate family and my close friends to know about this. If employers found out and thought I couldn't do my job, my career would be over. But I soon remembered why I'd gotten into news in the first place. Information in the face of uncertainty. They say journalists give a voice to the voiceless, and I have never liked that saying. Everyone has a voice, I just had a microphone, so I used it. My goal was to fill the Google search with a page of reliable information, so when the next patients went to learn about what was happening to them, they'd have something to read. I did reports on medical bias, disabilities in the workplace, and was one of the first journalists to begin reporting on the COVID-POTS connection. Now, because of the pandemic, Google is now full of articles on POTS. My millions of newly diagnosed friends have plenty to read. The silver lining for those of us who knew this suffering well before is that people are finally listening. Research is being funded and doctors are learning, but we are so far behind. For those of us already losing days to this, it is too little, too late. This condition is not deadly, but it will kill your life. As I took my dream job at a station in Knoxville, behind the scenes, my life was becoming a nightmare. I would sneak out the back door to sleep in my car on my lunch breaks. I had trouble reading the teleprompter, and I cried in agonizing pain on the drive home. I'd secretly wish POTS was deadly, because this purgatory seemed far worse. I knew if we couldn't get these symptoms under control, I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. I tried every off-label medication, physical therapy, and treatment. I have resources, an education, and skills that help me navigate this. I have a husband who starts my bath every morning so I can float and acclimate to getting upright. These are vital factors many patients don't have, and I still got worse. I saw doctors at Vanderbilt, Stanford, and finally ended up at the Mayo Clinic. It was my last-ditch effort to save my career. After 2 weeks, my husband picked me up from the airport, and I was inconsolable because I knew it was over. No one was sitting on a magical treatment that the others didn't know about. Science simply hadn't caught up to me yet. Shortly after, I submitted my letter of resignation. I was not supposed to sign off at 30. Now, despite what you may have heard through inspirational phrases, conditions like POTS will stop you. They will get in the way, and they will not move. I am not weak because my symptoms are strong. There are things this body simply cannot do. The losses these patients experience aren't for lack of determination. We are wildly motivated, insatiably driven, productive people who are fighting for our quality of life so we don't lose our lives while we are still breathing. I live by the mantra, your illness is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. I have to make choices that set this body up for success. I am in a constant battle between my ambition and my ability. I had no backup plan. I'd never in my life allowed myself to consider that I'd need one. So I did what any disabled news anchor would do. I emailed the CEO of Instacart, who I had never actually met. In more words, I essentially said, I'm lost, please help me. Without hesitation, she put me in touch with her communications team and showed me there is life after news. She helped me believe my skills were transferable and my passion could be realized somewhere else. I've talked to a lot of people in my career, and as a journalist, you really learn to be an excellent judge of character. The patient who is leading this effort at Metrodora is someone I would trust my life to, and I am. With her encouragement, guidance, and a little push, I found my place in the world again. Around the time I was handing over that resignation letter, the United States Department of Energy was creating a position specifically seeking a former news anchor as part of the communications team. They wanted someone who could lead their visual storytelling efforts, produce and anchor a show, and report on environmental, nuclear, and medical stories. My job is to help explain these complicated topics to industry leaders, politicians, and our community. The position promised partial work from home. My new coworkers had watched my teary on-air goodbye, and I walked into the federal building to, oh wow, you're the famous person we hired, nice to meet you. Now I aim to prove to other employers that we are disabled but capable with some adjustments. These days, when I'm not in an office or on a shoot, I take calls in my bathtub, edit videos from the infusion center, and write lying flat in my bed. I can do now more than ever because of a flexible schedule, an incredible support system, and a whole lot of medication. I left one job for 4. In addition to my position with DOE, a production company out of Chicago hired me to produce a documentary on a missing persons case I had once covered. My former station reached out and asked me to come back to host a monthly health show. The University of Tennessee hired me to teach journalism. And though I maintain those 11 doctors were wrong in diagnosing me with a mental health disorder, perhaps I have lost my mind because I just agreed to teach 2 classes in the fall. I am not better. My days are still torture. Like the viewers during the hurricane, I bet you have no idea how sick I feel right now. I'm lightheaded. Reading this script is difficult through the blur in my eyes. I keep trying not to take these big, gasping breaths that will distract you from my message, but I can't get enough air. I'm shaky, and I worry my arms and legs won't survive this speech, and now I'm really regretting that I went over on my time limit. My blood is pooling in these fabulous shoes, leaving my brain and vital organs starving. The constant headache that follows me around is with me here right now. My bones are tired. Everything is exhausted, and I hurt all the time. I just hurt. It's like having the flu, but it never goes away. I haven't eaten yet today, just to make sure I wouldn't puke on you, and it's not because of nerves. The nausea is constant. Now don't panic if you see me drink alcohol. I'm not pregnant, I'm just bloated. Oh my God, I just admitted that to a room full of very important people. And by the way, while I'm embarrassing myself, this is my sweat rag. It's kind of a paid actor in like every scene of my life these days. If you've already had to shake my hand, I'm so sorry. If you meet me after this, you don't have to put yourself through that. You can wave, hug me. We're just like, you know, a fist bump or an elbow. You don't have to put yourself through that. I live my life like this every single day, masking my illness in an effort to succeed. All these symptoms are still raging, but I am fueled by hope and fear. Hope that soon, every day, it won't be this hard to live, and the fear that tomorrow could be worse. I have to try to keep building on what I've done, so should one day I wake up and the cure is ready for me, I haven't lost the life I want to return to. My story is not unusual. It is the norm. I'm not special. I don't even deserve to be here any more than any other patient. I'm just the one who had a microphone when the symptoms hit, and I'm lucky I can still travel to keep using it. For 2 years, doctors did not hear me. The loud, reputable, trusted voice on air every night was silenced in the exam room. So I've spent every day since diagnosis screaming for patients who have been ignored, doubted, and shamed into such a silence. The only sound they can now hear is the excessive beating of their own heart, vomit splashing against the toilet water, and gasps for air through lungs that don't seem to want to consume it. It is the booming soundtrack to a chronically ill body. The only thing louder is the narration. You're just anxious. You're making it up. You want attention. You did this to yourself. Just eat better and work out. It's not that bad. There's nothing wrong. It's all in your head. It's your fault. The day I was finally diagnosed with POTS, I asked my doctor timidly, so I wasn't making it up? I, a fearless, educated, confident, investigative journalist, had been so defeated, I was unsure of my own reality. I fought for the truth every day at work, but had begun to doubt my own. Just like the anchors talking Mom and me through that earthquake, I still strive to share information to empower others. I use my journalism skills much in the same way now in an effort to remain a trusted resource in a space where not many exist. I advocate for patients, educate medical professionals, and spread awareness. The very basics of reporting a complete story are to answer the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Though Google is now full of stories about POTS, so many of those elements are still missing. I'm used to providing people with answers, but with this condition, there just simply aren't many. Of all the questions I've asked in my career, that one I fire at my neurologist every 6 months is the most important to me. I hope you understand now why I don't have time for pleasantries. So please forgive me for being so forward, but I am here on behalf of every patient who is losing their future to these conditions. Because I can still stand here, it is my responsibility to make sure you hear us. Should I be unable to get up tomorrow, I'd hope someone would do the same. Over the last 4 years, I've asked that question to several of the top autonomic specialists in this country, and I am not satisfied with the answer, because there isn't one. My fellow patients and I deserve better. Imagine what the millions of us could do if reliable treatment existed. I promise, if you help cure us, we'll change the world. But first, you need to change ours. You all have the power to do that. So the answer is up to you. How close are we to a cure? Because we have shit to do.